Welcome back to another episode of CamBro Conversations. And today we are talking about Be More Athlete, as well as the power of your network. To do so, we are joined by Alex Denney, functional fitness coach and good friend of mine. Alex, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, dude. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have you on, and you and I have had numerous phone calls now over the years after initially connecting on Instagram, and it would be a totally separate topic to talk about how we can use social media to build out our network of like-minded individuals. But for those that aren't acquainted with you, Alex, can you give the listeners a little bit of a background?
Yeah, definitely. So I am, as you said, a functional fitness coach from down in Southampton. I started off my personal training journey about 6 years ago now. I have worked consistently at a studio down in a local kind of village called Warsash. That was working for someone. It was like a private studio, so it meant I actually got what I would consider as one-to-one coaching in. It wasn't you walk into a pure gym and you meet your coach and then you've got the plan for our session today is to go and do bench press. Oh, someone else is on the bench press, sorry, we can't do that, we've got to change it. So I had access to whatever I wanted to coach. I quite often had the studio to myself to work with that individual client to achieve whatever they wanted. So I considered that a good 5 or 6 years of actual coaching. The plan has been, though, for the past 12 months or so, for myself and for two other personal trainers that I work with, for the three of us to start our own studio, our own gym, our own facility. I haven't quite worked out what to call that yet. We don't like the term studio. We don't like the term gym. It's not really going to be those things. And we've branded that as Be More Athlete. The kind of thesis behind that is no matter who you are, no matter what your background is, if you step into the space with us, if you step onto the gym floor and you actively trying to better yourself, then you are trying to be more. The athlete side of it being the be more gym, be more, training, be better at fitness. But we wanted the Be More brand to be more than that. So we are, planning to expand that to, be more nutrition, be more mindset, be more business. And that's how we see 2021 rocking out for us, really.
Yeah, great intro, Alex. And I think for me, having talked about these kind of ideas with you previously, it resonates a lot with where I think a lot of people's fitness journey has started to go in the last 12 months, given the COVID pandemic, where we were maybe stripped and taken away from our traditional gyms. Like you say, many people would have been members of a pure gym or a gym like that facility and probably experienced the kind of traditional bodybuilding style splits that they've done to get the best possible results for their physique, maybe struggle to do that as well. And when we were stripped back to like more minimalistic equipment, we had to be a bit more creative with how that looked and be a bit more athletic. And I certainly found that I've said this in so many podcasts now, that when I stripped back to minimal equipment and I had to just try and test myself in different capacities rather than just the 8 to 12 rep range, I found that maybe I wasn't as fit as I perhaps looked. And I know it's a concept we'll dive right into, but from an athletic perspective and the whole Be More Athlete brand, it definitely speaks to how a lot of people, particularly people who work normal careers and they aren't professional in any particular sport or athletic performance, will want to be able to be more across multiple facets of how they get on, because your clientele are probably, some people maybe do some competitive elements of sport, but a lot of them will be general population looking to be fit and healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's, it's important we've recognized it and we want to kind of push this onto the people that we work with, is that fitness is much more than just looking good.
Yeah.
Fitness is, being healthy. It's one of the main things that I try and put onto my clients is the more that we can do now and the kind of the healthier that we are now, the longer that we can work with that. And it's not about living as long as possible. it's about being as healthy as possible for as long as possible. It's about being able to chase the grandkids. It's about, you know, being able to walk up to a shop, to pay for your shopping, to drop your change on the floor at 80 and still be able to pick it up. Yeah. That's what kind of fitness is for us, and to be more is really a part of that. So yeah, we've kind of stripped away from the bodybuilding aspect. We, as a brand, kind of try to instill in all of the people that we work with that there is more to it than just looking good. And I think one of the things that I found through my journey was I did the bodybuilding stuff and I just wanted to chase a little bit more. Yeah. I didn't feel like I tested my body as much as it should be. And it's interesting you say, because it almost seems like very little input for quite a big reward with the bodybuilding stuff. You know, you can go in, just hit the same workout, push pull legs, rest, push pull legs. The splits are pretty much the same week in, week out. You know, as long as your nutrition's not awful, you will get good results. You will look good. Yeah. But a lot of people are kind of digging past that now, and they see past the aesthetic and they actually want to feel good as well, which I think is a fantastic movement. I think it's really good.
Yeah, it's a really positive movement. And I think you're right. There's maybe like two elements to it, where there's people that have done the kind of maybe really uninformed bodybuilding splits, like the bro splits and stuff like that, and they've never moved past that. And for those people, I worry whether they jump from that to the fitness menopause and the kind of functional fitness stuff that we're going to dive into. And you hope that they try and get through the progressive stuff. And you've named push pull legs there, which is kind of the upper end, hopefully, of like informed bodybuilding style training. But even then, you can leave yourself stuck in a rut when it comes to actually being physically fit to perform across multiple modalities in terms of your movement, how you feel, as well as how you look. And I like that straight away you obviously got to the kind of upper end of what you were meant to be doing in bodybuilding and still thought, right, okay, well, let's move forward. Whereas I guess my critique of some people who maybe jump on the functional fitness side of things is they haven't kind of served their apprenticeship in bodybuilding, even to a small extent.
Yeah.
And I always find that a kind of big caveat. And it doesn't need to be a long apprenticeship. You just need to get to grips with training muscle groups twice a week progressively. And like you say, the input's not tremendous. It's you can get pretty decent results as a natural lifter quite quickly doing that progressively for a period of time. You get those newbie gains and you get those kind of beyond newbie gains when you're maybe 2 or 3 years in doing a bit more scientifically. But the challenge lies in then, what do you want to do more? Do you want to be able to run a 5K at the drop of a hat? Do you want to be able to jump on the rower and do some burpees and not feel like you can't see or can't stand up, which you can sometimes do. You and I probably still do that, even though, but that's because we're pushing for a particular time, not just completing the thing in general. So we're going to touch on the fitness menopause, and you've touched there that you kind of did your bodybuilding style stuff. How long was that for, and what was pushing you, niggling away at you, and how did you then move forward?
I did the kind of the bro split, the bodybuilding style for non-stop, probably about 5 years, 5 or 6 years, I think. And it was probably when I became a coach that I realized, do you know what? My clients don't need this. So, you know, if Susan, the 45-year-old mum, came to me and she was like, look, I just want to feel a bit healthier. I've got, 10 pounds to lose. Can you help me do it? And we're like, right, well, we're not just going to do push-pull legs. Yeah. Because you don't want to do that. So that kind of forced me to think about other things. There was an interesting time. I must have been 12 months into my personal training career. And one of my clients at the time came to me and said, my company is sponsoring a fitness event in 6 months' time. We do it every year. He goes, I'm going to be doing it. I'm your client. You're my coach. You should be doing it. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, you've worded that pretty well. You know, you're actually right. If you, the client, can do it, I should be able to do it as well. So that kind of forced me into that a little bit. We trained together for 6 months, and it was just like a simple. It was 9 exercises back to back, lined up on a tennis court.
Yep.
So it's not a massive event. It was just 9 exercises. It was all over and done with within sort of like 20 minutes. But it was work at 100%, red line for those 20 minutes, and how quickly can you get it done? So pretty simple competition, but that kind of forced me into it a little bit. And then from there, I just got curious. I was like, right, I can do that in 20 minutes. Like everything in life, how do you look to improve that?
Yeah.
Well, next year I want to come back and do it in 15 minutes. And you can almost backtrack from there and go, right, okay, well, if I shorten 5 minutes off, I can look at that and say, well, over 12 months, this is exactly, if we backtrack from 15 minutes to 20, this is exactly how we can improve that. And, it was just from there that curiosity grew, and we became involved in CrossFit for about the last 2 years or so. I've had about a year off of CrossFit. Well, as everyone has, kind of with the pandemic, but probably about 18 months off of CrossFit, and just been continuing functional fitness on my own, really.
Yeah, that journey into a more functional approach, almost your hand being a little bit forced by your client to say, listen, you're coaching me for this event, you should be able to do it too. I know straight away that 18 months ago, maybe even as close as 12 months ago, if you told me I was doing that kind of 9 movements back to back for time, I'd be pretty worried. I'd be like, oof. I mean, to be fair, my transfer over has not been too bad because I've always stayed quite lean. I've never been that kind of like perma bodybuilder who like couldn't move. I was always good at supersets. I could train in the 20, 25 rep range, sometimes on legs, because I just felt I responded well to that from a hypertrophy perspective, and that helps your engine too. But equally, some of the first WODs or workouts of the day that I did that were kind of metabolic conditioning based, GZO, they were a real challenge to me. And it was a hit to the ego, Alex. And I don't know if you've maybe found that he maybe pushed your ego a little bit to say, well, you should be able to do this too. And then once you did it, you found it more fulfilling than maybe some of the cold, wet Tuesday or Wednesday nights where you went and did a push session and finished off with some tricep extension.
Yeah, definitely. It's a completely different feedback, isn't it? To go through like a big conditioning piece, to come out the other end and go, bloody hell, I actually survived that. That was a decent workout and I survived that. That is completely different to, so I did 4 sets of bench. I did 3 sets of shoulder press, some tricep extensions, some cable flies. Quite often I would come out of the gym after doing that and feel like I hadn't achieved anything.
Yeah.
Your heart rate hadn't gotten above 100 and you left with, hardly any sweat on your body at all. You could go back into work wearing the same t-shirt. Sometimes the sessions were like that. And especially where I work predominantly a big shift in the morning. So usually kind of 6:30 till 10:30, 11:30, and then back in from sort of like 4 or 5 till 8 or 9. There's a big chunk of the day there where I would have time to myself to get all of my work done, get to the gym, and we would take our time. There was no rush. So sometimes sessions would be 1.5 hours, 2 hours. I'd quite often train with Riley that I coach with. So we'd talk about business, we'd talk about work. And, as I said, we'd come out and just not feel like we'd pushed ourselves at all.
Yeah.
So it's a good feeling to finish a good conditioning piece and to survive. It's a very quick transactional kind of process of, I put in this work, I got sweaty, I felt the rewards, I felt good, I know I've worked out. Whereas, I don't know, bodybuilding is a little bit more, I'll put the work in and I'll work hard for 6 months, not really notice much difference at all, but I'll step on the scales, you know, in 6 months' time, and I might have put on a kilo and still be the same body fat percentage. So it's they're different rewards to investments, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think for general population, when we're talking about the monotonous nature of bodybuilding, which, don't get me wrong, I kind of quite enjoyed rinsing and repeating for a long time. It's just I kind of got to a stage this year where I was thinking, really, I should be a bit fitter. And I had done, like, and everyone knows I love ticking boxes. Anyone that's come across from Instagram knows I'm on my steps, my nutrition, my Fitness Pal, my logbook for my weight sessions. I genuinely did a really strict bulk for about 9 months. And when I cut down, I put on like 1.5 kilos of muscle. And I was like, this is hard to really feel as motivated now. And naturally my physique is probably where it's going to be at unless I'm willing to use external hormones. And at this stage, I'm not. So yeah, it was a funny one. And I think when it comes to the general population, the majority of people listening to this want to look quite good, but they've maybe, like, to look that tiny percentage better, the investment you would need to do to go into the bodybuilding, like in terms of like how hard you would need to train on like a push day where you were talking about the intensity that you were bringing, that would need to go up to even rinse even the smallest return. Whereas if you train a bit more of a functional way with a bit more conditioning, a bit more sweat and a bit more fun, you feel like you've done something. And equally, sometimes it's easier to push yourself on a type of session like that because you are gassing compared to, right, you need to go on and do another 3 reps in that bench press when your chest is screaming. It's just not something that people find as easy to push themselves beyond. I don't know if you found that with clients, Alex, when you're kind of seeing how they respond to a more traditional like hypertrophy session versus like you pushing them further in a conditioning session.
Yeah. I'll be honest as well. There's not many sessions that I do, especially anymore, that are hypertrophy based at all.
Yeah.
We would usually, so as I work with clients now, they've usually got a strength element to the workout, and then maybe some accessory work after that, and then into a conditioning piece after that. The intention is usually strength. A lot of people want to be stronger. A lot of people, as they feel stronger, they feel fitter, they feel healthier, and that quite easily transitions over to the conditioning. So if you've got, if you can squat 100 kilos, you can probably do a fair few wall balls or a fair few air squats with no weight at all. So if we can build up that strength, we can quite often transition that, and the conditioning will pay off as well. So it's been a little while since I've done any real just hypertrophy work with clients. A lot of the people that I work with are kind of strength and fitness based.
Let's go
already, and that's probably established through me as I speak to these clients. As we go through the onboarding process, and we sit down for, whenever I take on a new client, I'll always go and meet them for a coffee. That's the first thing that I do. It sets them at ease. It's a big commitment for them. They've actively put themselves out there and said, I don't feel fit, I don't feel healthy, I don't feel I feel heavier than I should do. And for the majority of people, that's a really big thing for them to openly say. So I'll try and put them at ease as soon as possible and get them into just a Starbucks or a Costa, and we'll sit and have a coffee. We'll just have a chat, and no matter what their goal is, I'll more often than not be able to kind of not change that goal at all, but get them to think about that goal being a byproduct of them just being generally healthier. And that comes down to a big part of that story is strength.
Yeah, I like that strength piece. And I guess that leads me on to my question around, you did CrossFit for a couple of years. That was kind of your transition from the 9 exercise in the tennis court as a rude awakening about how you could get fitter. And obviously you were starting to enjoy that. You went and joined the CrossFit gym. What was that experience like initially? And what are some of the changes that you've made now?
CrossFit I think CrossFit is great. And I think, everyone should give it a go in some aspect. CrossFit doesn't have to be the like the CrossFit games that you might see on the TV, or any of the documentaries that you might have seen on Netflix. It doesn't have to be that. It's a fantastic community. There's, you might have the person next to you being from a completely different walk of life, 20 years your senior. They might have, worked in the same role for the last 30 years, whatever it may be. And they can still throw down the exact same workout that you can. And more often than not, that person, 20 years your senior is going to do it better. And that's a fantastic environment to be in, because it's completely non-selective of who the person is for them to be good at CrossFit. It's just, what hard work have you put in to get to the place that you're at? That's fantastic. When I first joined CrossFit, interestingly, and I have said this to you before, the first workout that I ever did at CrossFit was incline bench press. And that just doesn't happen. So it was just absolute potluck that I walked in, and the program for that day was incline bench press. I think I can probably count on one hand how many times we've done bench press at all in CrossFit in the last kind of however long I've been doing it, 2.5 years. So to walk in and do incline bench press, I walked in and I was like, this is my jam. I'm here. I'm going to rock this. And sure enough, I did. Because, incline bench press makes up a massive part of the kind of push-pull legs bodybuilding split.
Yep.
But then as soon as we got into the conditioning piece afterwards, I was on cloud nine. I was like, right, this CrossFit thing is easy. I've got this. Nope. Conditioning comes along. I am on the ground in a heap, unable to move. I'm like, I am not as fit as I thought I was.
Yeah, really humble.
That was my first experience of CrossFit, was that. And then, from there, I think that kind of shows a good like analogy of what CrossFit is. There's so many modals, so many aspects of CrossFit that make up like a general athlete, that there will be some things that you are fantastic at, there will be some things that you are awful at, and it is just a constant strive to try and tick off all of the boxes, get them up to a good average across the board, so that you, as a kind of generalized rounded athlete, are successful.
Yeah, I think it's clear that you're a big advocate of everyone trying CrossFit at some point in whatever form it is. And it was extremely beneficial as a transition piece for you to kind of take you away from what you've been doing and move you more towards that functional style in terms of being fit, but also looking fit and being fit. But you mentioned there that you've done the incline bench, and the other times you actually did bench press at all was a handful of times across the period of you doing CrossFit. Is that something that you see as a challenge when it comes to programming, if you are somebody that wants to do CrossFit but equally wants to progress lifts specifically?
Yeah, I think it is a big kind of fault of CrossFit is the program doesn't always include the like core foundations of what I would say makes a strong athlete. So I don't know, let's say CrossFit quite often would have 50 press ups in like a conditioning piece, but they don't always, as I said, I think we did bench press 5 times in the last like 2.5 years. So you don't build up that that kind of foundation of having a strong push motion. So I think as I've kind of stepped back from CrossFit into like my own kind of functional space, the core foundations of push-pull legs, like bodybuilding split, your shoulder press, your bench press, squats, lunges, deadlifts, all of that sort of stuff, do play a role in my fitness now, and they do play a role in all of my clients' fitness as well. I think those foundations kind of have to be ticked off and have to be constantly nurtured to make a rounded athlete. And that's one of the things that CrossFit does definitely lack, is just a kind of the basics of a bodybuilding split. I think should play a bigger role in CrossFit programming.
Yeah, that's certainly something that was a big barrier for me and remains a barrier for me to join a CrossFit gym full time, because when I look at the programming that's available there, and I'm lucky to be connected with some really excellent CrossFit coaches, but as somebody who likes to be a bit more specific and deliberate in my style of training, the way that you set things up and the way that maybe some of the people that you look up to as well model their training is much more attractive to me, because it ticks off that bodybuilding style start in terms of, and we can do it as a strength piece, like you say, in terms of you starting with squats or bench press or overhead press or whatever, and deadlifts before we move into conditioning. That attracts me much more because it ticks the two key boxes for me. One, I want to get strong and look good. And then two, I want to push my body to its limits and see what's what and what I'm capable of. And equally, the way that things have looked for me in recent months has been very much like maybe like a push focused day, which would be a bench press. And then the Metcon that I do is push related. So there's press ups in there, although I'm still using like the rower and the ski and the bike. I'm doing like press ups or an OH or a single arm OHP or something like that within it. That's kind of ticking the boxes for me, doing movements that I like doing for my physique, but also pushing me to the limit. And I think that's what the whole functional fitness movement that you've kind of built a niche within now, Alex, is what's more attractive than pure CrossFit for me.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, they still need to have their place, and I wouldn't want kind of your average push pull legs bro split kind of athlete to be put off of, you know, the functional fitness space, because it's a complete change from this over to this. Yeah. It's, you know, don't forget that we still do these movements. We just do this, you know, the rower, the bike, some gymnastic stuff. We just do that as well. And it's, as we said earlier, really important to nail this, really important to nail the bodybuilding style stuff, and then take that as your foundation and bring it over and start introducing other stuff as we move into this functional space or CrossFit, whatever you want to call it. You know, those movements are still there, definitely.
Yeah, and that gives reassurance to people like me, which there'll be many people like that listen to the podcast who, like I say, want to be a bit fitter, but they still want to look good. They still want to do some of their favorite movements. They still like to get a little bit of pump on. They like to progressively get stronger. They like to know that last week they squatted 100 for 5 and next week they squatted it for 6, or they worked up to heavier triples. And that's a nice way for me, even though maybe you've not got your trusty logbook with you, you are still tracking progression in some form. And I guess the last area to talk to you when it comes to the fitness menopause and the kind of functional training is the turf games, Alex, which is something that you've been heavily involved in. What format does that take, and what roles that played in your life recently?
Yeah, so turf games is wicked, and it kind of summarizes everything that we've just spoken about and puts it into a competition perspective. So Riley, my business partner, and I recently went up and competed in their London competition, which was, I think it was the start of December. And that was basically made up of 4 workouts as a pair. So you attack one workout as a pair and, you know, get it done as quick as possible. The way that this one was set out was each workout took roughly 10 minutes. You had 15 minutes on each workout. It only lasted 10 minutes, and you had roughly 5 minutes to rest, recover, and get to the next workout. But as we said, there were all these elements of fitness involved. So first one was really gassy. It was a combination of ski erg, butterfly sit-ups, as we said, single arm push press, so kind of functional bodybuilding move, then back onto the ski erg. But then the second workout was a 3 rep max front squat. So front squat appears a lot in bodybuilding. The the Turf Games ran a competition the month before up in Leicester, I think it was, set up in exactly the same structure, but instead of a 3-rep max front squat, it was a 3-rep max overhead press. So, instantly, for anyone that's done their work in the trenches doing the bodybuilding stuff, you're kind of at an advantage there because you've got a good foundation for your overhead press. Riley and I competed there. It was our first competition together. It was Riley's first competition ever. It was my first competition in probably 2.5 years. We came about mid-table, kind of maybe just above mid-table. So we were pretty happy with that, considering we hadn't competed together at all before. The takeaways from us for that were we just need to get stronger. So we need to put the work in this year to be as strong as possible. Everyone, kind of what I analysed from that competition was everyone's got 100%. Everyone can get to working towards 100%, whether it be on a row machine, ski erg, whatever. But depending on your strength, your power output at 100% is different. So if you've got, let's take that first workout at Turf Games, it started with 60 calorie ski between the two of you. Now, everyone in that building that day worked at 100% to get that done as quick as possible. Everyone kind of had the fitness to hang on for the whole 60 calories, but everyone's strength output for that 100% looked different. So, we were probably skiing at about 2,000 calories an hour. The top dogs in there are probably skiing at sort of 2.5, almost 3,000 calories an hour. So it was just that jump in speed in strength. So that was our takeaway from it, that we need to be stronger, come back. As long as we can maintain that level of fitness, our output at 100% is going to be different next year.
Yeah, first of all, Alex, a lot of the listeners are going to be laughing that you said you went up to London and up to Leicester, considering how far south. So they'll certainly know how far south you are in terms of south.
So, yeah, mate, we are as south as we can go.
And when it comes to the Turf Games, it sounds like such a great test of the style of fitness that many of us are starting to fall into, and it's certainly something I'm starting to fall in love with in terms of that first workout being quite gassy, while also including some movements that are strength based, and then equally the kind of 3-rep max test is just a test of pure strength. And the key takeaway that you're mentioning there, and certainly something I've noticed when I train with stronger individuals, is that say we've got a 22.5 kilo dumbbell for a hang clean snatch or whatever that movement would be, that for somebody that's stronger than me for 12 reps in every minute on the minute isn't as challenging as it is for me, because that's heavier for me because I'm not as strong as them. So when you're talking about your power output and your strength, you're in an advantage within these workouts if you're stronger. And I guess it underlines for anyone that we've kind of was really tuned into this programming piece, that strength part of your program is going to be really important, because you cannot just smash the conditioning and forget about your kind of main bread and butter movements. Otherwise, you're not going to get that much stronger. You might just get more efficient at conditioning, but your output on the ski erg with the barbell is not going to improve enough to really move you up that table if you were looking to do so.
Yeah, no, it's definite. It's 100%. The strength plays a massive role. And if as I said earlier, if you can squat 100 kilos, you can do 100 air squats reasonably easy. If your squat is at 50 kilos, then those 100 air squats with no weight are going to be that much harder than if you had the strength behind you. So yeah, definitely a goal for this year is to knuckle down on the strength work.
Good stuff, Alex. So tell me a bit more about Be More Athlete. We've spoken about that's the way that your business is going with Riley and your other business partner. What kind of form does that take? People come in, they do 3-4 sessions a week with you. How does it look, and what are the kind of key tenets that you think it adds value in?
So Be More Athlete is this year going to be a facility. We've been looking kind of consistently for the past 18 months or so. We haven't found the right one. We're not in a place where we need to rush. Myself, Riley, we are working at, we've converted garage spaces. So we are personal training kind of in those spaces. That's our bread and butter. That's what pays all the bills. The Be More Athlete brand is going to be a proper facility. We need to find the right space for the right price and kit it out how we want. So that's what it will look like. Be More Athlete has been a brand for all of our clients, the three of us, myself, Riley and Lissy, to come together in like a group training model. And that's what the business will be for the first probably 2 years, is be predominantly a group training model. We want to be able to bridge the gap between so Cole, let's say you pay for a gym membership. Your gym membership's, I don't know, 40 quid a month, and then you pay to see a coach once a week 4 times a month for another 40 quid a go. Yep. That's all of a sudden £200 a month on your outgoing of fitness. You know, that's how much you're paying for fitness per month, but you're actually only guaranteed one good session a week with a coach. You know, I'm not implying that I'm sure you would have a good session every other day of the week, but for the average person, you know, for the newbie that's new to fitness, that's got themselves a coach because they're out of shape, because they're not fit, because they're not healthy, you know, they're only guaranteed one session a week. So we wanted to be the bridge between those two things. So if we can bring your costs down as a client, but get you into group sessions and get you into, you know, 3, 4 sessions, 5 sessions a week, where you can get into that group setting, work alongside other people, but work in front of a coach, following a program written by that coach, to specifically increase your strength, increase your conditioning, then all of a sudden, the costs come down per session massively. Your costs per month go down massively, but you've had access to your coach 3, 4 or 5 sessions a week. So we can kind of guarantee those sessions are going to be good sessions, which will, you know, hopefully increase the rewards and increase, you know, how quickly we can tick off those goals. That's what we as a brand want to do, and that will be kind of the bread and butter of Be More Athlete for this year.
Yeah,
it's one of the other things that we want. Sorry, mate, carry on.
Just saying, it's a really exciting concept, and I think one of the areas I'd love you to touch on is with regards to community, Alex, because it's been a key theme coming out of a lot of the conversations that I've had with people who have moved into a group training space with CrossFit, with functional fitness, with just generally having a gym facility, a unit, a studio, whatever term we're gonna use at this stage, to bring together people and support them in that environment is incredibly important, both financially, as you've said there, in terms of driving down the cost of them to get high quality coaching in a group environment. But for example, for those watching on YouTube, you're kitted out in the Be More Athlete merch. What does the community mean in that respect, and how are you trying to build that?
So community for me has been a massive part of my coaching career. I realized really early on that, you know, let's take as an absolute that you are, you know, a good coach and you can deliver results. If you can also put people into a community where they can, you know, relate to other people along the same journey, learn from other people, find, you know, new friends, find, you know, a great social side of things, then you won't ever have clients that leave. So most of my clients have been with me for years. Some of them almost as long as I've been coaching. Yeah. And that's because I've managed to build this community. And not just myself as well. Myself, Riley and Lissy, the three of us work so well because our clients across the board don't just know their coach. They know their coach. They know the other people that are being coached by that coach, and they know the clients that Riley coaches, they know the clients that I coach, you know, they know the clients that Lissy coaches. Everyone knows each other, and we've managed to build that over the last few years, so that now we do have socials. We do, you know, I've taken my clients up to climb Snowdon. It's one of the things that we're looking at doing this year, pandemic allowing, is to be able to go and climb the 3 peaks. I've literally just spoken to classes over the last couple of weeks about getting that organized, and loads of people are keen. So it's going to be, you know, go and do Snowdon, Ben Nevis, Scarfell Pike, all 3 of them within 24 hours, and try and achieve that goal as a community. You know, people really, really respond to that. And if we can build that further, kind of double down on it for Be More Athlete, then it won't be a case of, or have we got enough clients on the board to pay the bills this month? It will be a case of, we don't have to worry about the bills being paid, because the money's coming in. Because once someone invests in us as a brand, they don't leave, because they've entered the brand on the face of fitness, but they've left with, you know, new friends, socials. They've left with, you know, achieving goals as a group. That comes as priceless. You know, you can't put a price on that. And I think that, you know, for any coach that's listening, that would be one of my biggest piece of advice for a coach would be, you know, to try and build a community. Don't just work with someone as an individual. Try and get them to interact with other people as part of a community, whether it be, you know, just open up a free class for your clients once a week, so that everyone can get to know each other, everyone can get a good sweat on for an hour, and then watch those relationships grow. And as those relationships to each other grow, you don't have to worry about the client's relationship to you as much, because they have relationships to everyone else. And that's, you know, massively, massively important.
Yeah, I think you've touched on it really, really well there, Alex, when it comes to building a team, a tribe, a community that comes together and, like you say, forms interpersonal relationships with everyone. And ultimately you're the one that's brought that together, or you and the team of coaches are the one that brought it together. And it makes it a very, very sticky proposition, but also a valuable one, which is all important. One of the areas I want to touch on with you, and maybe something that will interest a lot of people, is how you maybe had to swallow a bit of a bitter pill this year when it came to Network 22, because of the nature of 2020's pandemic, as it was something that you were really passionate about, but that changed. First of all, what is Network 22, and why did it have to maybe take a back burner while Be More Athlete was something that you could run with more?
Yeah, so yeah, you're totally right, mate. Network 22 had to take a back step this year. Sorry, we're 21 now. 2020 had to take a back step. Network 22 is my functional fitness kind of competition platform, which is currently a website. Anyone can go to it, network22.com, and all spelt phonetically. So no numbers, just Network 22 spelt as the word. And yeah, I put a lot of money into it. We are a platform that we were delivering 1 workout a day sent through to you as you signed up for free on WhatsApp. We, at the start of this year, decided to change the model to deliver 1 workout a week and to introduce a paid subscription service. Not very expensive at all, just £3.99 a month. And that got you 1 workout a week that you, as a competitive athlete, could do in your own gym, in your own CrossFit box, wherever it may be. Get a score, get that score uploaded to the website, and see how you get on the leaderboard. So you could compete with, you know, Cole, let's say your best mate has moved to Australia. Yeah. The 2 of you could still get the same workout sent to you every day, get it done, text your mate, oh, have you seen today's workout? I just finished it in 10 minutes 55. Well, then your mate knows, okay, well, if Cole's done it, well, I'm obviously going to try and beat Cole, so I'm going to try and get 10:54. Yeah. And that's basically the background of what Network 22 is. Now, what's been really important for Network 22 is team workouts. So we've been introducing, you know, as a team of 3, complete this, or as a team of 4, this is your workout today. And obviously, with the pandemic, people haven't been able to get into the gym. They haven't had access to the equipment that they need. They haven't been able to, you know, train with other people. So almost, I try and see it kind of luckily that, you know, we aren't a fully established business. We have like a membership of about 100. We had about 100 people using the platform, which was fantastic at the start of this year, but we haven't had that many people to let down and say, look, we're going to have to put this on the back burner for a minute because, you know, people just can't have access to the gyms. Now, there is a call for, you know, home workouts, and we did do that for a certain amount of time, but there's just not the same competition with doing home workouts at home on your own. So yeah, we've kind of put the brakes on that for a little while. I am working with a project manager and a web developer, and we've kind of agreed to halt things for a minute. I have tried to do as much as I can for the process at the moment, and have created loads of content ready for us to go with when we start. So, you know, we've got podcasts with different athletes, we've got different infographics, different articles, etc., so that there is a backlog of content for when we start. But yeah, it's just been, I've put a lot of money into it, and it has been a bit of a hard pill to swallow, thinking that, you know, not that it's been a waste of time, but that, you know, we've got to accept that we can't work on it at the moment. And it's allowed me, if anything, to have more time to manage the Be More Athlete brand as well.
Yeah, you've redirected your energies, and for all, Network 22 is an exciting proposition, equally one that, from my perspective, it means you can reach and help more people rather than just, whereas at the moment Be More Athletes very much going to be a local area impact.
Yeah.
This is going to be wider than that, which is fantastic. Like you say, my friend could be in Australia and we're doing the same workout, we're comparing against each other, or him and 2 mates can do a workout against me and 2 mates from home, which is amazing. But I guess your ability to not wobble for too long on the app and on the website and the platform, and instead be like, right, okay, I'll build up a backlog of content, I'll be ready when the world allows me to, which I guess a lot of people be like, oh, but like, don't let the world get in your way. Ultimately, the restrictions we have at the moment mean that nobody can really run with something like this. But you've redirected your energies, you've been positive in your intentions, you've got that backlog ready there. And for all, like you say, kind of bitter, hard pill to swallow initially, to say, I've invested a lot of time and money in this, let's just redirect my energy, but make sure when the time is right, I'm ready to go with this. I think that's a refreshing attitude to have had, rather than maybe have doubled down on something that quite simply wouldn't have worked, or just been so furious about it not working and you not being able to do it that you didn't put all your energies correctly into something else.
Yeah, dude, I think that kind of the acceptance of that, kind of the, okay, this hasn't worked. Not that it hasn't worked, that's a lie. Okay, so we can't work on this at the moment. It has been a big risk, but you know, there is still work to do and we can still work on other stuff. I think that a lot of that comes down to being self-employed. And when I first started as a coach, it's a big risk, you know, to jump from a comfy job where, you know, you get paid X amount at the end of the month, you can spend that how you want for the next month, and then you get paid again. You go to work, you show up, do 9 to 5 and leave. And when you leave that to go and follow your passion, to become self-employed, to start your own business and work for yourself, you don't get paid unless you do the work. You know, if you don't show up, if you don't put the hours in, then you just simply won't get paid. And you have to kind of realize very early on that it's only you that's responsible for that. And you kind of have to accept that, and the risk comes with it. You know, you're not guaranteed to make any money, so you have to be reasonably comfortable with that risk. And I think that comfiness in risk transferred over to, you know, managing this project and saying, okay, well, you know, it has been a risk. The risk at the moment isn't paying off, but I'm comfortable with that, because when things do allow, I will have the time, I will have the capacity to double down on it and get it working. You know, at the moment, we can't do this, but we're going to do this instead because we still need to work on something. So BMA, Be More Athlete, came first, and we just had to swap this into the background for a minute. And, you know, you can wallow about it as long as you want, but, you know, you still need to do the work, because, like I said, you're not going to get paid unless you do. So find something to work on and work on it.
Yeah, big respect for that, Alex. And we've obviously spoken about Network 22. What about your actual network in terms of the network of people around you? I know that's a conversation you and I have had previously. I know it's a conversation that a lot of people are maybe thinking about moving into 2021 in terms of the people around them. And I know you've got some interesting thoughts on that.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think maybe 2020 taught people more than ever that, you know, we can't see many people. You know, hopefully people have made the choice and said, well, if I can't see as many people as I want, I'm definitely going to choose the people that I spend my time with more wisely. And I think, yeah, I don't know, I'm similar to you in the way that I kind of analyze and process everything. I question everything. And I think, you know, I almost look at things in a transactional perspective, which arguably isn't great, but that's another conversation. Look at things in a transactional perspective and say, how does, you know, how do these couple of hours that I'm going to spend with this person impact my life? Do they take me closer to my goals? Do they take me farther away? And as long as you can kind of, as long as you have a reason, have a justification for those, you know, couple of hours spent with whoever it may be, then, you know, you're on the right track. So that may be within my network, I've got, you know, a couple of people that I know that are really well off in business. They've done really well. They've spent, you know, 10, 15 years there. And if I have a problem, I can go and speak to them, and they are the people that I want to spend my time with if I have a problem in business. If there's, you know, if I've had a really stressful kind of 6 weeks at work and I want to kind of chill out and go and grab a curry and a few beers with the boys, then I'll go and do it, and I'll go and see them. And, you know, we won't speak about work at all. It'll be, you know, just taking the piss out of each other for a whole hour and, you know, sinking a few pints. And, you know, to some people that may seem like, well, you know, that hasn't really taken you closer to your goals, has it? But, you know, in actual fact, I think it's really, really important for you to have some downtime and to kind of recharge and refresh. And if kind of that social situation serves you that purpose, then, you know, it's paid off, and it's been a good use of those few hours. And yeah, I kind of just see it as I want to learn from whoever I meet, and as long as I can learn something or experience something with those people, then that time spent with them has been important. So that's kind of how I've tried to build my network over the last few years.
Yeah, and I know you said to me before you weren't always quite as selective or conscious of who you were associating with, but nowadays you're really making decisions based on, and it sounds wrong to say transactional, but everyone's looking for back and forth with the people that they spend time with. Some people are just more conscious of the fact they're doing it than others. And like you say, there's maybe people you'd want to speak to about business and bounce ideas off, but equally you make a conscious decision to say, yeah, at work it's been stressful, or such and such events coming up, somebody's birthday or whatever. I'm going to make a conscious decision to go out, turn off work mode Alex, and turn on relaxing, socializing. And that period that you spend doing that recharges the batteries for entrepreneurs, business owner Alex further down the line, rather than you maybe going into that situation semi-present and just being, oh, I'm out with the boys, but I'm checking my work emails, or maybe you are meeting up with somebody to talk business and you want to fire ideas back and forth, but you're not fully present because you're thinking about, oh, I'm really quite fancy getting on it later on, so I'm going to arrange that on my phone just now, and you're not quite in the same right headspace. Whereas you seem to have a couple of different hats that you wear when it comes to who you're spending time with, based on what you're hoping to give, but also get back from the conversation, the time you spend.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And I think you really hit the nail on the head where you said, you know, it's important to be present in whatever situation you're in. So, you know, if it is a conversation about business, then I want to be as present as possible to learn as much as possible. There's no point me, you know, texting the lads, you know, did you see this meme online? Well, you know, I don't want to talk about that because I'm sat here with this person trying to learn and sort a problem out. And then equally, you know, the other way around, when I'm with the boys, you know, chilling out, I don't want to be checking my phone. I don't want to respond to work emails. You know, when I get in from work, I make a conscious decision to try and use my phone as little as possible, to spend time with my girlfriend, and to, you know, we get to bed and sit in bed and read together, and it's a conscious effort to try and engage and spend time with whoever it is that you're in front of. And it's been an interesting year this year. We haven't spent that time with the people that we want to spend our time with. So I recently, just over Christmas, caught up with two of my mates that I hold very dearly. You know, we get on really, really well. The three of us are all very driven. We're all very motivated. We're all very self-aware. And we would usually have seen each other a lot more than we have this year. It's actually 2019 where the three of us went on holiday 3 times between the three of us. One person chose each holiday, didn't tell the other two where we were going until we got to the airport. And we just took it in turns to pay for the whole holiday and to kind of show up as a surprise. But I hadn't seen them as anywhere near as much this year. So when we caught up over Christmas, I made a conscious effort. I actually texted them and said, guys, do you mind if we have an agenda for when we catch up over Christmas? And they were like, yeah, what do you mean? I was like, well, we haven't seen each other anywhere near as much as we should have. So I want to know, you know, what you've achieved this year, what you didn't achieve, what you thought worked really well, what your goals are for 2021. And we actually sat down. We got a really nice dinner, sat down at my mate's new house, and we had, you know, these conversations first before we had the conversations that, you know, don't really mean much, before we, you know, just had the normal social of, you know, having a laugh and having a catch up. You know, I said, I actually want to know this stuff from you. I want to, you know, just delve into your life for the past year, because I haven't experienced it. So, you know, tell me all of this stuff. And that works really well, actually. So if anyone haven't seen your mates over the last year as much as you should, you know, just sort it out. Just say, look, I actually want to know these things. And it might work out that, you know, so-and-so says, I don't know, I'm looking to achieve this. Just take me, for example. Oh, I'm building this platform and I need to find an app developer. Well, the other one goes, well, actually, through work, I've worked with this guy and he's been really good. So maybe I could pass you his number, and you might be able to network and kind of achieve some more stuff that way. So it works really well.
Yeah. To really delve in on that, Alex, a lot of people will be like, oh, an agenda to speak to your mates. And the answer is yes, because you're wanting to cover the important things that matter. And like you say, different things get drawn out of that. You maybe find out stuff about somebody who maybe out of the three of you, one of the guys is a little bit quieter sometimes. It isn't quite as outspoken about what went wrong this year, or what he wants to improve, or what he really cares about next year. And because you've given him the mic, so to speak, to say, tell us a bit about that. You haven't told us what you're planning next year. And then you hear it's all this brilliant stuff that maybe you can help with, or maybe you can support, maybe you can share his Instagram page, maybe you can hook him up with an app developer, whatever it is, maybe you've done the same thing before and you can provide experience and guidance to him. Having that level of conscious conversation is really, really valuable. And there's obviously certain personality types that lends itself to. So you and I are speaking as people that are quite into our self-development, and many of the listeners, if you listen to a self-development podcast, you'll probably be similar in some respects. You can gain a lot more from the conversation. Like you say, you didn't script up the rest of the conversation. You guys moved on to all the different fun stuff that you want to talk about in terms of like what's been happening outside of that. But you had that kind of core around the conversation and you were really present. And I guess just to go back to the conversation when it came to you coming home from work and making sure you've got structures in place that mean that you don't end up scrolling mindlessly on your phone when you're with your partner and your girlfriend. I think it's so important for us to try and be present in as many conversations as possible and as many moments as possible. So when you're telling me about the different maybe habits you've got in terms of the phone goes away and we're reading together, we're spending time together in bed, that's really healthy versus you're on autopilot and you're like, oh yeah, like we go to the bedroom and we just kind of like, we sit together, but we're not really together because we've got two separate screens sitting in between us and maybe a third screen with Netflix pacifying us further. It's incredible how these things can impact. And I really respect how you've gone about developing deeper connections, both with your partner, but also with those two friends in particular.
Yeah, mate, there is nothing worse than, it happens every now and then, it happens. And I catch us with, we might have a movie on or something and we're both sat on our phone. Like, this is awful. I hate to feel like we aren't connected. I hate to feel like we aren't, well, human really. We're just literally scrolling through a screen. It drives me mad. One of the ways that I've kind of tried to counteract that is recently started writing down in the 6-minute diary, which I know you're an advocate of as well. And that's been really, really good for me to kind of get back to, at the end of the day, reflect on how the day's gone, and at the start of the day, plan how the day's going to go. And that for me has really helped with me to, be more present in the day and experience it a lot more.
Yeah, I love the 6-minute diary, and I know you're a big component of it as well. And like you say, by mapping out at the start of the day and then at the end of the day how your day might go and what would constitute a good day and what would constitute an improved day, as well as the good things and the kind of things that you're looking forward to, really makes you think about how am I going to make today the best possible day through my own actions and my intentions. And like you say, presence is one of the things that I write down all the time in terms of like what will make today great. And it's always be present, be focused, be undistracted by what's around you and present within the task that you're choosing to have. So I like that you managed to bring yourself back, because obviously, like you say, we're all human. We end up behaving like robots though, in terms of the screens that are thrust in front of us. But when you catch yourself, you make sure it doesn't happen for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. And then you have those wonderful, deeper connections. And interestingly, you were saying that when you went to your friend's house for the catch up, that was the Christmas present, wasn't it?
Yeah, man, that was the Christmas present. And today, you and I are filming this on the 4th of January. And I told the guys, I was like, look, here's your Christmas present. Just wait, start it in the new year, fresh start. And it was lovely for me to be at work this morning and get text through from both the boys saying, started the diary, I filled it out. I had boomerangs from them turning pages, and the whole thing was filled out. And I thought, this has been a good present here. If I can help those guys to, just reflect a little bit more and be more present, then it's a good present.
Yeah, I think so too. I gave it to 2 people for Christmas as well, because I think it had a profound effect on me when I started it in kind of April time. And I certainly think that as 2 guys that would very much be seen as like into our training, into our fitness, quite alpha, quite reassured about who we are, still promoting the fact that we write down our thoughts and our feelings, some of the things that we like and we care about, can only be a good message for males, particularly during this period when there's been more male suicides than ever before. And it's just generally a time for quite challenging mental health. So I'm glad that I've got a lot of people around me that we're kind of normalizing that gratitude journaling, Alex.
Yeah, definitely. it's really, really important, dude. You know, just to get your thoughts out on a piece of paper really helps you to just digest your thoughts. I think quite often, you know, things just sit in your head and they fester and they get worse and worse. And for you to be able to, you know, just be present enough in the day to, you know, digest the thoughts, get them onto a piece of paper, really, really does help you feel better.
Yeah, it's certainly a healthy habit. And I think we've covered a lot today when it's come to your background in fitness, Alex, your journey through the fitness menopause and towards functional fitness via CrossFit, the Be More Athlete brand that you're building with Lissy and Riley, and how that's developing. The fact that you were managed to kind of shelf something that you cared so much about, but it's very much just on deep freeze and it'll be coming back out when the time allows. And then lastly,
don't worry about that.
The kind of conscious decisions that you've made around your network, as well as your presence and your connections in day to day. I think we've covered an awful lot. Alex, where's the best place for people to connect with you off the back of this podcast?
So you can connect with me directly through Instagram. That's probably the best place, at Alex Denney. The Be More Athlete brand can be at Be More Athlete on Instagram as well. And Network 22 is, you can find me on Instagram as well. That'll be just in my bio. So yeah, those would be the best places. Network 22 is not too active at the moment, but Be More Athlete is. We post a workout every day, on top of, can even join in the Zoom sessions if you want at the moment, because everything is online.
Superb, Alex. All three of those will be linked in the show notes below. If you're with us at this point, please take a screenshot, tag myself, tag Alex.
Yeah.
Give us your feedback. Let's all get involved. I'll also put the link to get the 6-minute diary on Amazon, because like I say, Alex and I are trying to normalize journaling and putting our thoughts and feelings out there, particularly as we go through these challenging times. But hopefully you've enjoyed today's episode, and I'll be back to speak to you all again very, very soon.